council regarding some history as well as specific agenda items for the Hawaiian Kingdom and what the right name is for it from different perspectives, whether it's the Kingdom of Hawaii or many others, the Hawaiian Islands, etc. So we're going to dig into that today. We're also going to go through some opinions regarding rights to travel, right to privacy, right to life, and right to search. Those are the agenda items that we can see. We're first going to get started with some introductions and then an invocation as well. So uh, first off, we've got Charles. He's on Maui today. Then we've got Mark, and he's kind of off on La La Land right this second. And then we've got Tom.
Yeah, look at this just for a second.
Myself and Kobe. There we go. And then we've got Louis and then Kamanu. We'll just kind of review the agenda. So these are some of the topics that we'll go into. But first, we'll start off with a prayer real quick from Kamanu. So Kamanu, go ahead.
Hey, aloha, everybody. So I'm just finding a safe place where I can pull in here and do this pulley. So bear with me, please.
Mark, who do you have with you there?
This is my son
Beautiful.
from Makawa right now.
Kia ora.
For your son, he has no beard.
All right. This is it. Good. Let's do this.
Yes.
E ko mako mako loko kalani honi ko ino e mahalo na mako ia o e ka opu mai kai o have mai a mako I ke ila. E hui ana no mako I ke manawa no ka mea make no mako he kuka I ka pono he pono no I ka ike he pono I ka manao o nā kupuna I ka wā mamua I ka wā kahiko eia no nā kupuna e ola no I kia mo kupuni o ko Hawaii pai aina. E pule no mako ia oi, ke olo olo. E ho mai I nau ike pono, nau ike oia I o. He mana ke aloha no. Puli ki mai no mako. Heavenly Father, thy children bow our heads before thee in prayer. We say mahalo to you for the light, the love, the truth, that is ours, is our blessing and our privilege to serve you, each one of us in our respective places, our vahipana, vaunahele. And we're so thankful for the light and the love that you give to us and the opportunity we have to reflect that love among those who we are called to serve. We gather here this day to come together as one, to bring our hearts and our minds and our consciousness into alignment with thy will, that this may mark the beginning as we plant the seed of a righteous lahui, that we may go forward serving you and serving your children in a way that is in accordance with thy will. He pule no mako ke ia pono, pule ke ia pono, I ka inoa he molele o Yesu Christo. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. So
mahalo for the privilege.
need to be involved in this important work. So do you want to guide us? I guess it's Kamanu, Tom, Mark, and Charles regarding the name, the specific history behind it, the importance, the context, and then this will actually have a vote that will go through the end of the month. So Kamanu.
Hey, okay, so mahalo for the opportunity. Mahalo, Maka, for hosting this, and mahalo, Kobe, for joining us. I want to say mahalo to all of you who are gathered ohana gathered into this space. This is so important. Okay, so the first agenda item is to have a little dialogue, a kuka kuka, about the name, Kohoe Pai'aina. If that is a name that resonates with all of us, then we need to adopt it so we can make it official and we can move forward. In my research, I have discovered that Kohoe Pai'aina is used synonymously with the Hawaiian archipelago or reference to the Hawaiian government. Um, I've heard the term Aupuni Hawaii used for Kingdom of Hawaii. Um, what's another one I've heard is Ko Pai Aina o Hawaii Ne. And so I present it to you for your consideration. Would like to think about, have a dialogue, and then move to adopt Kohoe Paina moving forward.
Any other
Alex?
feedback or thoughts or
And what
review?
I'd like to say with that too is that for those that are listening or watching this later on, then we're having a discussion right now. You see Hawaiian Kingdom and Ko Hawaii Pai'aina. Right now, the diacriticals are not correct, but that is a small point that can be easily corrected. Hawaiian Kingdom, and some people want to say, no, it's only can be Ko Hawaii Pai'aina. No, it's only the Hawaiian Kingdom, Kingdom of Hawaii. Here's a simple conversation. Inside of a nation, you have your own language. Outside of a nation, you have what other people will be calling you. Much easier. And if you're from Japan, Hawaiian Kingdom is going to be certainly a lot easier than Ko Hawaii Pai'aina. Or if you're from France, Hawaiian Kingdom is certainly a lot easier than Ko Hawaii Pai'aina. And you find that with every country, almost every country there is. They have their own internal language and then their external language. So please don't give us the comments of, hey, everything's in the wrong way. We're going to adopt what we're going to adopt, and it's the diacriticals will be corrected. I just wanted to pass that on to you. And turn this off.
Mahalo, Tom. Well, the chickens want to vote too. Tom.
Yeah. So I'm kind of a stickler for words, and I'm kind of a stickler for legal words. There is this country is founded formally in 1839, and it's a Hawaiian country, and there's a Hawaiian language. So I don't, and the original laws published, at least the laws that would be the basis for all judicial proceedings, are published in Hawaiian. And the title page of every volume of laws identifies Ko Hawaii Pai'aina and written in a specific way without the diacritical marks. The diacritical marks are introduced in the 20th century, and they presume to have the power to change the original way it was written by the founding generation of the country. And I see no reason to adopt these modern, especially what they're calling the language today, Olelo Hawaii. So I look at the title page of each of the volume of laws, and it's consistent from 1839 to 1864. Ko Hawaii Pine. In 1864, under the 1864 Constitution, and specifically the volume that is published as the Compiled Laws of the Hawaiian Kingdom. If you read the preface to those laws, you'll see that even the compilers of that body of law say that it's not a code, and it's not. It was never. The legislature of the Hawaiian Islands did not adopt it. It was just a compilation by a bunch of people, and it refers to the country that existed under that constitution as the Hawaiian Kingdom. And that's the first instance where we see a formal application of the term Hawaiian Kingdom in the and on the title page of a body of written laws. So for me, yeah, ko Hawaii Paina for sure. I'm not concerned about diacritical marks, the kako, the okina, and all of those pronunciation marks. I just look at the title page, and as it's written there, so I use that. And
I know this may be a dumb question, but where does it come from?
where does ko Hawaii Paina comes from? Um, it would. Was there a? Did someone mention that there was a lawyer present at this discussion?
Yeah, there is
Yeah.
a lawyer that's present, but I don't know that he's got any.
I'm not going to have any knowledge about Hawaiian
No,
naming.
but you have a knowledge of how the
Yeah.
name of a country is adopted and how the name of a country, manifests under its laws, the laws of that country. Where would one look to identify um, how the name of a country is adopted and used?
Actually,
What type of
Turkey just went through this recently, and they changed the way that the rest of the world should write the word Turkey. The way that it's done, as I understand it, is simply the governing government, the creation of government. They create the name of the country. In the case of Turkey, for example, they had already created that name, and 100 years after they created it, they decided that it wasn't reflective of the culture and the pronunciation. They wanted something more authentic, and so they changed. And now, if you look at the name of the country, there's 2 dots above the letters that weren't there a year ago. It's also, I believe, submitted to the United Nations for approval as the naming convention of the country. That's just off the top of my head, though, not having researched it.
Yeah, so similarly with us, in the beginning, 1839, the formal establishment of the kingdom, the legislature and the king and whoever was involved, and the chiefs, and they all adopted a way of writing it and referencing it, and they used it in the title pages of all the laws, and it's, like I said, consistent all the way up until the 1864 Constitution. And so yeah, it's ko Hawaii Pai Aina. Not even the okina over the between the eyes at the end of Hawaii, or a macron or anything else over the paean or anything like that. So
So this comes from the Constitution, because when I read different treaties, and I know the treaties have been translated,
yeah,
the treaties talk about either the Hawaiian Islands or the
in
Hawaiian
translation,
Hawaiian Kingdom.
in the translation, and I think they refer to the between the head of whatever country or the United States and the king of the Hawaiian Islands.
Yes, that's right.
Yes, and so if you look at the Hawaiian version of those treaties, you'll see it says ko Hawaii Pai Aina, right? And for me, the ko part is very important, because the word Hawaiian is sort of a Latin form of referring to, it's kind of like the naming of plants. And the different, the use of Latin in botany and biology and things like that. So this is just the political use of Latin, Hawaiian, right? It's a term that refers to a national rather than a race. The race would be Hawaii, ko Hawaii, what the people call themselves since before the establishment of the law, or since time immemorial, as the dictionary says. So the ko Hawaii, belonging to the Hawaii, the Pai Aina, the archipelagic islands that belong to the people that have called themselves Hawaii since time immemorial. sort of a long version translation of what that means, to give it specifically, the Bible. Well, the doctrine of discovery. Hawaiians used, the founding generation, they used the doctrine of discovery first to discover themselves, and then to claim this area. Unlike Native Americans and natives and indigenous people of other countries who never got the opportunity to exercise the doctrine as a Christian, as a state organized, a Christian organized state, right? So when Hawaiians go to make their treaties with England and France, they're already a Christian state. Right? The Christianity comes as a result of the adoption of the Bible as the well that they draw this nation from, and the use of, by the time Christianity comes to this island, this is over 200 years after the doctrine is used in the New World to make Christian claims against non-Christians in the New World. So Hawaiians, beat the Christians to the punch. They adopted Christianity as the system for the management of their wealth and for their claim to this geographic area of this earth and of themselves. They discover themselves. Extraordinary thing at that time, that they would use their Christian identity, their newly adopted Christian identity, to discover and claim themselves as Hawaiians, as a nation, as a state, right?
Mike,
Relying on
Mahalo, Tom. Mahalo. So you know what? I'm going to go ahead and make a move. Unless anybody else has some mana'o to share, I'm going to make a move that we hanai, pursuant or consistent with Kanawai Kohawaii Paina, consistent with the laws of the Kingdom of Hawaii.
Kingdom of the
Does
Hawaiian Islands.
Kingdom of Hawaiian Islands, does everybody agree that we are going to hanai this inoa oiai'o?
Well, my question is, for what purpose are we adopting this name?
Because we want to make sure that we actually have something we're going to stick with and reference that as we move forward. Because what we've learned from experience is that often when there is no inoa, when there's no identity, when people don't have that reference, they fall into, ko Hawaii Paiaina, Hawaii Aupuni, na Hawaiian Aupuni. Then before you know it, you got 1,000 different canoes out there. So we
So
want
I'm
this
just
one
curious,
canoe.
which canoe is this?
This is Kohoi Paiaina.
So this is the country established formally in 1839, and we're just affirming its name since that time and continuing till today.
Yeah, because we cannot holomua with power and authority if we don't adopt the inoa that belongs to that country.
I mean, we don't need to adopt it, right? We're just affirming that this is the name of our country. Our country is in continuity, is a continuing to exist country, and from its formal inception in 1839, and continuing till today. And this is the name of our country, and we're just affirming that, right?
Yep.
For the purposes of us achieving governance.
To make 100% sure that there will be no ifs, ands, or buts about who we are, who we've been, and who we'll always be.
So we can identify what we're relying on from the past, and that is still available to us today.
Because this is what I've learned. My experience has taught me that whenever there's a group of Hawaiians who are always sitting on a fence and they don't know where they stand, whether it be with Kohoi Paiaina, Kalahui Hawaii, or Na Hawaiian Aupuni, as soon as they are confronted by the Ike Kanawai of Western thought, they become Americans.
What about there's other ecosystems that are not necessarily focused on the American side of it, but maybe like the Kingdom of Akua, the Kingdom of Hawaii, the Kingdom of Atui. These are all different ecosystems that have their own, maybe the regions may be different, maybe the individuals may be different, but how do you see that gaining alignment with this?
There are organizations organized under various laws of whatever laws they invented, laws that they've picked and choose here and there. But
Yes, and
all I'm interested in is the country that was established in 1839 that is today continuing to exist. That it never ceased to exist. We're simply not using the prescriptions for governance, and we're trying to identify that, and we're starting with a name. What is
Yeah.
that name of that country? And we have that
Everybody see
country.
that?
We know its laws. We know its people. We know its
Yes.
geographic location.
Well,
We know its
Kalamai,
rights. Right?
Kalamai, I'm going to have an issue with that because this is why I want to get to this. Everybody see that?
hold on, I'm going to try and focus in on it here real fast.
Maybe I'm not holding it right. Maybe I need to flip the camera. But the reason why sorry.
Kamanu, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear, but I cannot see anybody.
We're just waiting on you to focus in on what you were focused on. Go ahead. Kamanu, did you want to show us something? Go ahead, Kamanu.
Yeah, can everybody see that?
Yeah, it looks like it might be backwards, but go ahead.
Oh, it says Kamo'i e Kamehameha third. Keali'i o ko Hawaii pai aina. Everybody get that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to Tom's point, it really is important that we, especially those of us who are gathered here, understand and agree with this name, because the laws pertaining to Kohoai Pai Aina cannot be applied if you are not going to embed this into your person.
Mm.
You need to commit to the Kanawai, to all the laws. So the only issue I have with Tom, and Tom is probably more educated than most Kanaka, is that a majority of Kanaka Maoli, or in other words, majority of those Kanakas out there they have no idea what their laws are. And so it's going to be really important for us to say, we are going to affirm all of our rights under these laws, Kohoi Paina, and not jump the fence when we think it'll be to our benefit to be recognized as Americans, right? We need to say Pilina to these Kanawai, or else this conversation is over.
I agree. I agree. There's one country here. We don't live in the United States. We live in the Kohoi Aina. And we have a body of laws here, and we have a people here, and we've got all kinds of foreigners here running around, either lawfully or unlawfully, you know, and we have to enforce our laws on everyone here equally. And that's why I'm here. I think that what Michael's devices, Michael's platform, offers us the opportunity to manifest our governance as it was formally established beginning in 1839. We have this opportunity to put our laws into play, our voting system into play. And that's my interest. I'm not interested in marketing a brand. We have a country here that needs governance. And this offers an opportunity for us to govern. I know what its laws are. I don't need to guess at that. I don't need to invent new laws. What I need is to use the laws to establish a legislature, a judiciary, to recognize an executive pursuant to the laws, and then from there set about to adopt or conform the laws to the 21st century. If we need to introduce a new currency, we need to have the mechanism of governance as prescribed by our laws, so that we can modernize, we can use technology and I think technology is going to, we don't have the burdens of other countries in terms of applying 21st century technology. We don't have a bureaucracy that's going to lose their jobs, and that we're going to lose the use of buildings or anything like that. This is us at ground level. We're coming in here 168 years later, from the time when our governance is upended by whatever, and we have an opportunity here to do something with a technology that I see as the best available right now, and to invite the world to join with us in setting up the model for modern technological governance. I'm not interested in selling a brand. That comes later on. We lack governance. We must achieve that objective first. And I think technology, at least this technology that Michael brings here, I think it may give us the best opportunity available to us today to achieve governance. The cutting edge of technological governance. And we've always been at the cutting edge. Our country, this country over here, the Hawaiian Islands, greatest country on earth, the Kohoi Paina, we've led the way on everything. Peace. We've established the basis for peace, even in light of what the chief judge at the Nuremberg trials called the most heinous war crime, the unprovoked invasion and occupation of a peaceful, independent state. Hawaiians have maintained a peace like no other country. We haven't adopted the Palestinian solution or the African solution or the Asian solution or any other solution. We have adopted the solution that the Bible offers us through Jesus, the Prince of Peace. We've manifested that here like no other country on this earth. Why would we want to abandon that? It makes no sense. We need to use technology to make the world aware of this great gift that the founding generation of this country has offered us.
Amen.
I don't want to
Amen.
second guess them. I think we have to at least see what they gave us in working terms, and then we can say, they messed up. But I think we're going to be hard pressed to find anything that they messed up. The precision which they applied in achieving this objective, this country here, what James Jackson Jobs called a blending of Christianity and commerce, never before achieved in this kind of peaceful paradigm that's been established here. We have to use what they gave us first.
Mahalo. Anybody else?
Louis, do you have any perspective on this? Louis?
Oh, well, I wholeheartedly agree with A.G. Anthony. And earlier I showed you my sign that hangs at the governor's home, Ko Hawaii Pai Aina, Kingdom of the Hawaiian Islands. So that is Tutuman Mahina, or King Kamehameha III, who asserts that and whom we follow in our laws.
Period.
So it is not for creating new, but affirming the old and the truth.
Mark?
Affirming what is continuing.
Right. Continuing. Yes.
Yes.
Hold on, Mark. 60 seconds, everybody. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mark.
Yes. I couldn't add and I wouldn't delete anything that's been said so far. I love this. This is exactly what it is. We're already a country. We haven't stopped since the beginning. Let's continue.
Charles?
I'm all good.
Mr. Ping, Leon Su, and Tui folks, and Edmonds, and all these other folks, and just get them, even on Bumpy, but all these other individuals, and just get their feedback and perspective and alignment. We spent the last, 18 months trying to understand it. Kamanu, anything else you want to provide before we move on?
No, I think that's good on this particular subject. I really appreciate the kuka, and that's what's really missing in the 250,000 Kanaka Maoli that are living in Hawaii today. Less than 5% are having these essential conversations, these dialogues, to help make sure that their ike, their pu'uwai, and their uhane are all aligned together. Pili na no, aligned as one.
Okay.
And so I love this kuka. This is great. So I think we've already we all agree, we all affirm that Inoa is Kohoai Pa'aina. That is what we are affirming as a continuity of the Kingdom of the Hawaiian Islands. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
All in favor say aye.
I.
Yeah,
Aye.
I just want to make sure I hear that affirmation, because that affirmation is essential to our moving forward. If we cannot affirm this, I'm out. Now, as a commitment, as to my commitment to this, I wrote my son's birth certificate. My son has a palapalaha now pursuant to the kanawai o ko'ai pa'aina. And that's why it's important for me, because he's going to get to a point in his age where he's going to have to make a decision. Does he continue to remain a Kanaka Maoli subject of Kohoai Pa'aina, or does he become an American citizen? No kamea, his mom is Uahana ia maiaia ma Mokupuni, Arizona. My son, Wahana ia maiaia I keia Kohoai Pa'aina. So I want to make sure all of his rights, all of his vai nui, all of his ponomoi, all of that is protected under Hawaiian Kingdom law. So all
He's
of us
born
agree.
here in these islands, right?
Kalamai, go ahead, Hanaho.
Did you say he was born in the islands or in Arizona?
He was born here.
Yeah. So he's born here. He's a Hawaiian by nationality. He is,
Aye.
and if he wants to give up his nationality, he can do so at any time in
Aye.
his life after he reached the the age of consent, right? When he gets to the age where he can make that, and anytime after that, he can become an expatriate of this country, as
Aye.
anybody from any country can do that. But
Aye.
he's Kanaka Maoli, and he's born in his own country. He has all the rights here. What he does with that, when he achieves his age of majority and decides what he wants to do with his life, for sure. He doesn't have to become an American. He may even decide, I mean, dual citizenship may be even available to him. I'm not
Aye.
sure if our laws allow it, but certainly, yes, absolutely.
Actually-
He has all the rights here. This is his country. He owns all of it.
Yeah. So I know our laws allow it because I've read it.
Yeah, there you go. Then,
So beautiful. I want to get to two important pieces here, and then this is where Kobe, I'm really going to ask you to kind of jump in. And by the way, FYI, Kobe is not jumping in or participating as a legal voice to offer his legal advice or opinion. Rather, he's here to just help us navigate, because there may be some statutory provisions of Hawaiian Kingdom law that are no longer applicable. For example, laws regarding horse and buggy. Nobody operates horse and buggy. We operate car, we operate motorcycles. So we're going to have to look at statutes like that.
Can
They
we-
need to be lomi. They need to be revised.
Before we jump into that, can we just wrap this last topic up? Because I heard a couple different things. I heard the Hawaiian Islands and the islands of Hawaii and the Hawaiian Kingdom and lots of different. So I just want to make sure we're
Got
specific
it.
on the same page here.
Got
So,
it. Yep.
you know, you've got the text
Finish that
here.
vote.
Yeah, you've got the text here, you've got the brothers, you've got the marks. This is all consistent and historical. Then you've got Hawaiian Kingdom, and this is consistent with what we see on identification systems. So you got Hawaiian Kingdom or Hawaiian Kingdom, then the rest, and this is actually spelled the same as this without this. So I just want to make sure we're consistent, the same spelling here as in the marks. When we take the vote, these are the things it would represent. So, and then we can move off of this topic. Does that make sense?
I'm not understanding your question, Michael.
I'm trying to make sure that we've got clarity specifically around these words as being, for instance, you've got an ID that specifically goes through the exact same words, and you've got a logo and a mark, different kind of stylization, etc., but basically has Hawaiian Kingdom. And I just want to make sure, because from what I understand, they're saying the same thing. It's just one's in Hawaiian and one's translated. But both of them together is the right pronunciation. Is that what I'm hearing? Are you seeing a screen? Here, I'll share a screen real fast.
I guess another way of asking the same question would be,
Well, let me go through.
Kanaka Inoa, Hawaiian Kingdom, right?
This is what I was trying to say. So you've got these words, but in marks. So for instance, this is an identification where you've got the same words. And this is probably the disconnect because you weren't seeing this when I was going through it prior. So you've got Hawaiian Kingdom and then the text here. Hawaiian Kingdom text here. This is the original Hawaiian text. And you can see it here as well. So I just want to make sure and confirm that these elements are all correct.
I would go back to what Kamanu said, which is that there's a great deal of confusion, and those words are not synonymous. Ko Hawaii Paina does not mean Hawaiian Kingdom.
Correct.
You know, those words function in different ways, and that's led to a great deal of the confusion that Kamanu referred to earlier. We simply have been burdened by all of these words, and it's led to a great deal of confusion. And hopefully one of the objectives we're trying to achieve here is to remove the confusion. Neutralize the confusion and have one consistent path. This is a Hawaiian country. It has a Hawaiian name. all other names in every other language is translations of that Hawaiian name.
Okay.
And that Hawaiian name of this country is Ko Hawaii Pai'aina. And I rely on that because I've seen it on the title pages of the official publications of the law. As one of those publications is what Kamanu showed us earlier. The title page of that publication, and it says specifically those words, Ko Hawaii Pai'aina. And other uses and other applications, people say, oh, I mean Ko Hawaii Pai'aina when I say Hawaiian Kingdom. That's fine if you clarify it for me, right? But if you just say Hawaiian Kingdom, I would say the first time that the laws appear under the banner Hawaiian Kingdom is those deceptive compiled laws of 1884. Right, which rely on the 1864 Constitution. I mean, this may be a discussion for another time in a more technical approach to this. But definitely, Ko Hawaii Pai'aina is the name of the country that I'm going with.
Okay.
And if we're going to go with with another name, then like Kamanu, I've outlived my usefulness to that extent. Because I know when I look for Ko Hawaii Pai'aina, I can find that body of laws that manifests in 1839 under, the Holy Bible.
That's very consistent with what I'm seeing and hearing and feeling. I just want to make sure that we've got alignment. And Kamano, if you want to make a motion for us, then we can just allow the voting for the rest of the month. And then if everyone can share a voice and perspective there, then we can ratify it and move forward.
Okay. Mahalo. Okay.
Ahead,
I want to just go ahead and make a motion to affirm, pursuant to Hawaiian Kingdom law, that the name Ko Hawaii Pai'aina is a reflection that is consistent with the laws of the Hawaiian Kingdom. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say a'ole. Okay, the ayes have it.
Okay. Done. We'll move off of this original topic here and move down to the topics around, Colby, Tom. By the way, for those that want to vote, if you haven't voted before, it's super simple. So you would use the Hawaiian Life app. You would just open it. So I'm just opening one here. You basically open and then scan, and then it'll validate on your phone, validate there, and then you can see real time, privately, but cryptographically, you can see that vote actually counted. Does that make sense? So as more people vote, these percentages will reflect what their vote is. So this is the only vote for this particular meeting and this agenda today, but there are other key topics that are very important, specifically moving to the other agenda items with primary presenters of Kobe, Tom, and Kamano, and any others that want to provide opinions and perspectives. But on the right to travel, the right to privacy, the right to life and living, and then the opinion on the right to search and opinion. So we want to just kind of open this next section up, which I think, Kamano, you were starting into. So if you want to just guide us, that would be wonderful.
Sure. In the Kumukanawai of 1839, Paukutu, it says, if I can hello this for everybody, so we can have some context. Paukutu. Kalamai, I really should read Pauku 1 and then we go into Pauku 2. I think we all agree that God created all nations of one blood, yes?
Yeah.
Because if we cannot agree to that, then that part of the Pauku, which is the very first piece, if we remove that, then all the other laws kind of stand still until we can affirm that we agree and that we will commit to that Pauku. It also says, so He created everybody of one blood to dwell on this earth in unison and in blessedness. I
I,
I
as it is
okay.
written, so shall it be done.
I following it says Uahavi mai no hoi ke akoi ke kahi mawaiwai like. He is given all of these rights equally. No na kanaka apau to all men. Amena ali'i apau, all chiefs. Ona aina apau loa, on all nations.
Yeah.
Okay? Okay. Second one. And this is important because it really starts to spell out what the specific rights are, some of these specific rights. Kalamai. Let's see. Eia kekahi mawaiwai ana ihavi mai ai I kela kanaka keia kanaka. So these are some of the rights he gives to Nakanaka and to Nali'i, right? To all the men and all the chiefs. Kela kanaka keia kanaka, I kela ali'i keia ali'i. I noho pono, to dwell in righteousness.
I,
Keola. Keola. Keola is life.
Kia ora.
Kia ora.
Onalala o ke kino. Onalala are your limbs, right? Your arms, your hands, your legs. Everything that makes you a complete, beautiful, gifted, intelligent, creative human being. A living soul. Let me repeat. Eia ke kahi mawaiwai ana I hawe mai ai I ke la kanaka keia kanaka. I ke la li'i keia li'i, no hopono. O ke ola, o na lala o ke kino, o ka noho ho o pa'a ole ia. This is the right, the freedom to move. You are not restricted or confined. Yeah? Ho'o noho pa'aole means you are not restricted to stay in place. You are free to move pursuant to this law. Ameke kea kea ole ia. O na mea a kona lima I hana pono ai. You have the right to the things you produce with your hands. Aole nai na mea I papaye na kanawai a pau. A kona lima I hana pono ai, a me na mea a kona mana o I ho'opono pono ai. Or in other words, the things you create with your hands, that's yours. The things you create with your mind, that's yours. So we're talking about products developed by you, that's your property, your right to it. Intellectual property, things you conceive intelligently, these fantastic ideas we have. And as soon as you start to palu or speak it, oh, somebody within earshot takes it, they go, they produce it, and before you know it, you're going, hey, wait a minute, that was my idea. So just in Pauku 2, we're already talking about the right to life, the right to live, the right to possess the things that you produce, your intellectual property, and the right or the freedom to move about, not having to be restricted in place. That's just the second article of the Kumukanavai of 1839. Any comments?
beautiful.
Just clarifications. Those are God-given rights. They do not. Those are your natural rights. Your rights that come directly from God. The right to life, limb, liberty, right? Freedom from oppression, right? No slavery, and the right to the earnings of your hands and the productions of your mind. And these things cannot be taxed. But these are God-given rights. That's why they cannot be taxed. Um, and these rights are identified either in the Holy Bible or they are the rights that were established long before Hawaiians became familiar with the Holy Bible. These are the rights that arise out of the ancient kapu.
Mauna Lahoi.
Um, again,
Also,
God-given rights, and the king is merely expressing them as the owner of the divine right, the right to express the divine will. They go on, and these aren't articles. The articles don't show up until much later. This is the declaration. It's like the page goes down into the marketplace, and he says, "Hear ye, hear ye. The king has declared this." Right, and that first part of the rights of the people and the chiefs together, and the second part is the rights of the people, separate, aside from the chiefs, to the right that the people have to be protected from the chiefs themselves, and those are the kuleana, which is the second part of. I think you're going to get to that. Come on, the right to your pahale and your aina and the waiwai to make your pahale and your aina useful to you. Right, the right to walk upon the earth, the right to the water for your aina, the right to cut the trees in the forest. All of the intangible rights to manifest the usefulness of, your right to your pa for your hale and your aina, your garden space, and that the chiefs cannot take away this right to that use of the land that the chiefs own, the air that the chiefs own, the sea that the chiefs own, and the forests that the chiefs own. The people have the right to use those things, because if you look at our laws, they express that you can take the trees from the forest to build your hale, but you cannot take them to sell, to make a business out of it. That's not your right. Your right is to the use of those things for these specific purposes. And it goes on. God has created government and rule for the purpose of peace. And that no tax can be assessed against what is set forth.
Oh, you jumping the gun now, Tom. But that's
Yeah.
in number 5, yeah.
These things aren't numbered in the declaration, but they're set forth as just a singular declaration, right?
Tom.
Okay, go ahead. Kobe, could please share your mana on what does the right to travel mean? Because I see an alignment with that and the ho'onoho pa'aole piece in this particular pauku.
So the thing you're asking me about, there's a couple of different topics. So the right to travel obviously would be, so there's two ways you can look at it. One is you can look at what you refer to, what you guys are talking about as natural rights, right? Like John Locke's from the 1700s, life, liberty, and property, or life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. These weren't things that were granted to you. These are things that you were born with. And the Constitution or the documents are only reflecting truth. They're not creating truths, right? Like, you were born with the right to your life.
Yeah.
The government didn't give you the right to your life. They're natural rights, so to speak, that were later constitutionalized to make clear because some governments believed that was not true. So clearly, one of those natural rights that are often discussed is the right to travel. That right to travel is inferred in the U.S. Constitution. It's often in each state constitution. It is very rarely litigated because there's very little dispute about it. As it relates to within the country, leaving the country is a different thing. So you certainly have the right, and this is just the interpretation by the Supreme Court of the U.S. government under the federal government, the federal Constitution, is that within and among the states, you have an absolute right to travel. But coming in and out of the country is a different thing, right? Obviously, the federal government has the ability to limit people's right to travel out of that border. That's why we have passports, for example. That's why there's all these other things that are in place. But in the sense that you guys are talking about it, the ability to travel in between states, it's very rarely litigated because it's very rarely up for dispute.
If I may.
Does that answer your question, or does that just add more questions?
If I may ask a question. So, the right to travel usually arises amongst the so-called conspiracy theorists, right? And it's the right to travel using an automobile, the right to the use of the roads in an automobile, right? And I think the right to travel has been confused with, where the dispute arises. I see in a lot of people that go into these courts. I have the right to travel. They're applying something that it goes beyond just the right to move about the earth. Under our laws, the roads are open to all, right? In the old days, the plantations couldn't put gates across the roads, right? Because everybody owns, the people that live in a particular outpoint, they own the right to go to the mountains and go to the sea and move about those roads. So the plantations only closed, if they had a gate, or in the old days, the ranches, they had cattle guards, and the gate was, they may have put a gate, but the gate was always unlocked. Today, they've gone about locking up these locking up the roads and the gates, which is totally against our law. So, the modern use of when constitutions are based upon pre-existing modes of thought and conduct, principles that they essentially don't give you rights, the Constitution. They just, again, they are principles that are based upon pre-existing modes of thought and conduct. They require, in many instances, statutes to enforce those principles. Some principles are self-enforcing, like in our Constitution of 1840, there are 5 self-enforcing principles: the right to redress, the right to be free from conflicts of interest, the right to worship any god that you want or no god at all. There are a couple more. There are 5 self-enforcing principles under ours, and then the 1843 statutes that enforce all the rest of them, and you can see them all published in. They were adopted by the territory of Hawaii under what's his name? The architect, one of the architects of the so-called overthrow. I forget his name. Anyway, I think I do that on purpose. He's so obnoxious. But these the people that made these laws and established these constitutions and declared, made the Declaration of Rights, the Kumukanawai. They knew these things. These things were not things that they invented. These things are things that they relied on in order to find favor amongst the other nations, Christian nations especially, of this world. And so, there's nothing accidental here. There's nothing inventive or artful about how they went about doing these things. These are all well established. The right to travel, though, I think is a very confusing right. If
I could jump in, Tom, the point you bring up is an interesting one. So there's a difference. So there's a couple of distinctions that you've made, which I think are important to point out to anyone who might be confused. And I can only speak as it relates to, the federal and state government of the United States, not the traditional government of Hawaii. I'm certainly not familiar enough with that to speak intelligently. But obviously for the United States, there's been a recognition of the difference between public and private property. Private property, of course, you can keep someone from going on that. right? If you've
Yes.
got, if you've got a 3-mile driveway up to your house, someone can't say, well, this road is public. Well, no, it's not. I own 3 miles of land, and on that is a road that goes 3 miles to my house, and you can't go on that. And that's a relatively common thing in the United States, right? The idea of private property ownership. The thing and in that case, the right to travel doesn't apply at all because it's private property. You don't have the right to cross my property to get to yours.
And it's not a road in the sense of a public road. It's more like a road in the sense of a private driveway.
Anything, because the term the term for that is simple. It's trespassing, right?
Yes.
That's what property ownership is. The thing
Yes.
that people, I think, is the second part of it that you're talking about is this idea of things that are publicly owned.
Yes.
Whether that's a school, a park, a road, a water system, a canal system. In those cases, that's a different thing, right? And that's what they mean by the right to travel. They mean the right to travel in places that are not privately owned.
On the commons, if you will.
And so one of the things that I think that you guys are discussing is what does that mean as it relates to the ability of either the state or the federal government to regulate those rights to travel on a public road, not a private road, but a public road.
And that's where the confusion comes in. I think I see a lot of that confusion in the courts and cases and stuff.
Exactly. And that's why I want to delineate between different things, because when they get mixed together, it gets confusing. And so to narrow the question down to the narrowest question, it is this: does the governing entity, whether it's the state or the city or the federal government, whoever got that power for that thing, to what degree do they have the right to make rules and regulations related to the right to travel on a public land? And so if, for example, they do have no rights to regulate that, let's take the most extreme example. That means they don't have the right to regulate your speed. That means they don't have the right to regulate insurance. That means they don't have the right to regulate a driver's license. That means probably they don't have the right to regulate the kind of vehicle. That it is an open free-for-all. I can tell you that people have argued that, and they have lost.
Yes, every time.
Every time.
Because it's a ridiculous argument.
Well, and there's a good argument to be made, and there's a good bit of constitutional, there's a good bit of court cases that the government has the right to regulate health and safety, right? And so the way that you regulate health and safety is by regulating seatbelts, speed. You have to have a driver's license to prove that you're qualified to drive a car. That you can't ride a bicycle on a freeway. There are rules about all these things, and they fall under this, even though it's a public space, they fall under this idea of the government's ability to regulate health and safety.
Yeah.
And so the thing that you guys are talking about as it relates to specifically Hawaiian traditional law, or going back to the 1800 Constitution, that may or may not be power that was granted to them. You would have to look at the document, and you would have to look at any interpretations of that document to understand how that governing body applies that document to that situation.
Yes, exactly.
Because we know how the United States government applies it. That's been litigated plenty, and there's really very little open for discussion on that.
And people are just misunderstanding the opinions of the various courts that have, rendered judgments on the that argument.
Exactly. Right? I can tell you who isn't confused about it. The courts aren't confused about it. The lawyers aren't confused about it. The government's not confused about it. And most police officers that get their marching orders from the government aren't confused about it. It's usually a smaller group of people without a legal background that are more confused about it.
Okay, so the issue over here in the Hawaiian Islands today is not so much the right to travel. This is where our people get confused. But who gets to regulate the right to travel in the Hawaiian Islands? Now, the state of Hawaii says to us that it has the right to regulate our right to travel while we're in the Hawaiian Islands. They don't say that to China. They don't say that to England or France. But the state of Hawaii seems to have adopted this unreasonable approach to this thing, and saying they can come to our country, a foreign country, and tell us how to and regulate our use of our roads and our land within our borders. And that's where, for me, the confusion arises. We don't necessarily have a right to travel. We have a right to travel free from regulation from France and England and Russia and the man on the moon and the United States and the state of Hawaii.
Yep, that makes perfect sense to me. So interestingly, there's the argument. This argument was actually made by Native people in the 1800s in, I believe, the southeast of America, if I'm remembering correctly. It's been a while since I've looked at the court case. It went all the way to the Supreme Court, and I want to say it was around 1790 or 1780. And they said, look, why are you imposing your rules on us? We're a sovereign nation. Went all the way to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court's opinion was, and it has stayed precedence ever since, is, and this is going to be very indelicate, but this is what they said: because you were conquered.
And we are not conquered people.
Fair enough. The Supreme Court ruling, though, was, in this case of these other Native people, is the conquering people now become the governing body. And that is why your rules don't apply.
Okay, so that's been expressed in various cases, including Johnson v. McIntosh. But recently, in McGirt versus Oklahoma, the Supreme Court said that Oklahoma, the state of Oklahoma, half of the state of Oklahoma is Indian country, and only Indian law and federal law applies there. And the state of Oklahoma had been applying its laws to Native Americans within that territory, and they shut them down.
Yeah, I read that case. It was really interesting.
That's right. So what I take from that case is that within a territory, a physical geographic territory, there can be two laws that apply to different people.
Yeah, I think that's true.
As in Oklahoma. So over here, the people that call themselves Kanaka Maoli, right? They have a different law that applies to them. But everyone that signs up as an American, a native Hawaiian American, and that's the identity, people confuse us with the native Hawaiian American. Those are the people that qualify for Hawaiian homes, for alulike, for oha. That's not us, right? We are the Hawaiians here are the Kanaka Maoli, Kanaka Hawaii, and the Haulis. Those are the people that a different law applies to them. And the state of Hawaii has been overstepping the bounds of its authority and regulating the behavior of these people. Because when we go to their courts, we identify ourselves as natives, indigenous people. And that's our mistake. We're not, and this is why I'm a stickler for what the law says. And what country, what is the name of this country, I ask people, right? State of Hawaii? Hawaiian Kingdom, Kingdom of Hawaii. What is the name of this country? This physical geographic location. And with the power given to them by God, the Kanaka Maoli said, this is the Kauhoaipai Aina. And these are its laws. And these are the rights of its people. And these are its people. Those things are a done deal already. We don't need to question that. So the right to travel is only an issue if we're in the courts of the state of Hawaii, and they're attempting to regulate us on the basis of the Hawaii Revised Statutes, which are adopted from our statutes. But they are not our statutes. They don't apply to us, is my argument. So the right to travel, the right to...
I think you bring up some really good points, Tom. So, 50 years ago, if you'd asked me this question, the U.S. government and the U.S. court system saw the reservation system as an extension of the United States largely. And
the recognized tribes.
and right,
They're created by Congress, and they're subject to the plenary power of Congress.
right. And in the last 50 years, the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the court system and others have seen the reservations, the ones that were sort of duly designated by the federal government,
Recognized tribes.
as being independent, a hybrid version of independent countries, but mostly independent countries. And the height of that is the court case you referenced, where they literally said, you get to do your own thing. A couple of things, though, that I think
Subject to federal law.
right, subject to a very few, like the federal law is telling you make your own laws, and that we're not going to bug you. But there's a few things to keep in mind. So let's say I'm a native from Oklahoma living on the reservation. When I leave the reservation, I am now subject to the laws of the state of Oklahoma. So I can't, I can't, I don't know, take some criminal thing that's criminal in Oklahoma, but legal on the reservation. So I'll give an example. Let's say that I've got a golden pencil, and on the reservation, golden pencils are allowed. And in the state of Oklahoma, golden pencils are illegal. So when I'm in the reservation, I can have it all I want. But as soon as I drive off the reservation, I'm breaking the law. And I can't say, well, but I'm a Native American. Well, sure, you're a Native American, but you're a Native American on U.S. soil now.
And that's what the Supreme Court of the state of Hawaii has said, that if you're in the state of Hawaii,
right,
you must obey the laws of the state of Hawaii. And what we're saying is we have never been to the state of Hawaii, that the state of Hawaii is not a physical geographic location. It's a condition that is imposed on all people that live in the Kauhawaipai today.
Sure,
and it should apply to some people, but it should not apply to the people of the Hawaiian Islands. Because I challenge all the lawyers all the time to show me the law that says that the Kauhawaipai is today part of the United States. And there's no such law. What is annexed is the Republic of Hawaii. And the question is, what is the Republic of Hawaii? And that has never been answered.
I don't know. I haven't researched it, and I would have to research it to know. But
I could enlighten you.
I would assume that in, I think, 1950 something, when Hawaii was annexed by the United States as a state, that there was something that said
admitted as a state, not annexed.
Sorry, you're right. Admitted as a state. That there was something in that admission that defined what Hawaii was.
That's right. And what they say, it's Article 15 of the State of Hawaii Constitution.
Okay.
The territory of Hawaii shall be that which they got from the territory of Hawaii.
Okay.
And then what the territory of Hawaii owned, what the Admissions Act says, not the Admissions Act, rather the Organic Act, the act organizing Hawaii into a territory.
Okay.
And that act says that it's what the United States gave to the territory of Hawaii. It doesn't identify what that is. It just says that which they got from the territory of and then if you look what the United States had, it's what they got from the Republic. The question is, the Republic was abolished by the Newlands Resolution, and none of its laws appear in any of the historical evidence of amendments to the law. If you look at the history of the laws of these islands, so nobody knows what the United States got.
Well,
big
part of that
here.
too, Tom, is that in every state in the United States, there are metes and bounds so that you have a set line. In Hawaii, that was never defined in any way.
Yes, it was.
Shape.
It was absolutely defined. If you look at the statute laws of His Majesty King Kamehameha III, I think it's...
I'm talking about the territory and republic.
Oh, yeah. The territory and republic have no metes and bounds defined, but the Hawaiian Islands clearly defined in 1847 that the jurisdiction, the maritime and territorial jurisdiction of the Hawaiian Islands is clearly defined in our laws. We know where that is. And it's just deception, deceptive words that have confounded us in under the state of Hawaii. They keep telling us they don't recognize us when we show them our ID, and absolutely they can't recognize us, because to recognize us is their undoing.
So, Tom, what it sounds like, and I'm just trying to repeat back what you're saying, it sounds like
Sure.
the confusion is that yourself and others would say that we're not a part of the state of Hawaii because it was never set what the state of Hawaii was going to be. And
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Okay, then maybe I'm misunderstanding.
Yeah, well, let me be clear. What I'm saying is I have never been to the state of Hawaii. I live in the Ko Hawaii Pai Aina. I know what its laws are, and I know where it is, and I can show you in the laws. As for the state of Hawaii, I know nothing about that, except that, you know, people have referred to the state of Hawaii as a fake entity. I disagree. It's something completely real, and it's legal too. But it is, try to imagine you with a legal driver's license and an insured vehicle and brand new, you know, safety checked and everything, and everything completely legal as to whatever the state of Hawaii requires. But you've got this propensity for driving on the sidewalk and running over Kanaka Maoli, right? So, you know, what you're doing with your completely legal self is injuring the people of another country. Right? The police officers are doing this, the courts are doing this, the legislature is doing this. They're condemning our property. The state of Hawaii has admitted that it's a trustee. How? And has it been commingling its interests with ours? Has it been eating the beneficial interest that it owns no interest in? Right?
So it sounds
All of these things, these questions have never been answered. We've never approached this in terms of property rights. We've only approached this in terms of some nonsense about an annexation or an illegal occupation or some other conclusion, right? Because when we look at the facts to support those conclusions, the conclusion of colonization that Leon Siu brings here, the conclusion of occupation or illegal occupation or prolonged illegal occupation or whatever, those are all conclusions. And I've not seen facts sufficient to support any of those conclusions.
So if I could jump in here, Tom.
Sure.
So the federal government believes it knows what Hawaii is, and it believes,
And it does.
and it believes you're in it.
No, it doesn't. That's not correct.
The-
The federal government has never argued with me on this issue.
Well, let me-
Only the state has.
Let me finish. There is I assume that the federal government does a census of Hawaiians, and that they
Of
have
native Hawaiians.
let me finish, and that they have some idea in some department what they believe Hawaii is. They must. I'm sure they must.
Hawaii, yes, Hawaii, but not the Ko Hawaii Pai Aina.
And so,
Hawaii is the name of the people, not the place. It's the name of one of the islands, but it's not the name of our place. It's the name that the state of Hawaii has given to the condition that it operates within the Ko Hawaii Pai Aina.
okay. So let's take for an example the conflict. The conflict is simple. You disagree with what the federal government and the state government is saying.
No, I don't.
So you've got
I
two.
completely agree with them. They annexed the Republic of Hawaii.
Yeah.
The question is, what is the Republic of Hawaii? That has never been answered.
They decide what the Republic of Hawaii is.
And they have decided what the Republic of Hawaii is. And they've decided it
And
ambiguously and with uncertainty.
And so you have just a few options, it seems to me.
Okay.
One, you could simply say, I don't think I'm within your state. I don't think I'm within Hawaii. We don't exist with you. We had a civil war over that. It didn't go well. The second option is you can have the federal courts solve this dispute, right? And they will either say you're right, or they'll say you're wrong. But they're not going to settle that dispute unless they have a case in controversy before them. So I'll use my gold pen example. So let's say someone is in Oklahoma and they have this gold pen, and the state of Oklahoma says the gold pen is illegal, but the traditional people say that it is fine. And we don't know where you are or what's going on, but you want to know. So the solution is you get the state of Oklahoma to give you a ticket for illegally having a gold pen. And then you argue to the court, I'm not in the state of Oklahoma. And the Oklahoma court will either say, we agree with you, don't pay the fine, or they will say, we don't agree with you, pay the fine. Because the court will say what the truth is. Or not
Okay.
what the truth is, what they say the truth is. And
Okay, that's one approach to all of this.
or
The
you
other,
have a civil war. I mean, those are your
well, no, the other approach is that we take it to our courts, right? If we're in our country and
right.
we're going to our courts are not going to rule in favor of the state of Oklahoma.
Sure.
You understand? The problem we have is we don't have we're not operating the judiciary prescribed by our laws.
Right.
When we do that, then we don't have these problems.
So
What the state over here is relying on, and again, I see the point you're trying to get, but this is where everyone makes these errors. They assume, without reading the words that are quite express in terms of defining these territories and defining who we are as distinct. The United States has never made a claim to the Ko-Hawaii-Pai'aina, ever. And again, I challenge someone to show me this claim. It's never been made.
So let me see if I understand this correctly, because this is new to me. I'm much more familiar with federal and state law than I am with Hawaii specifically. So
Yes,
let's say
or
that,
the Hawaiian Islands.
or the Hawaiian
The distinction, Hawaii and the Hawaiian Islands.
My apologies. This is part of
Yes.
a lack of knowledge. I appreciate you.
Well, and it's a confusion that everyone is confounded by.
So let's say that I am living on an island that's just my island. It's just the Colby Island.
Yes.
And I've got my Colby government, and it's just me and my family, and we're our own executive branch, we're our own judicial branch. So me and my 10 family members on an
Yes.
island. And then the U.S. government
Yes.
says some stuff, and I got my gold pen again.
Yes.
And I say, look, I want the litigation of my gold pen to be with the Colby judicial system. I can do that, but the federal government won't care. If I go to the federal government and say the Colby judicial system found me not guilty, they're going to go, how big is their army?
No, you see, this is the mistake that you're making, Coach.
Okay, thank you.
And let me clarify. This is what's happening in Israel today, right? Israel says that they have a right to exist. What they mean is that they have determined themselves, the law of self-determination. This is what Hawaiians have done already. Nothing can undo that. If you're saying that the federal government, through its war machine, can undo self-determination, especially the kind that Hawaiians have achieved, the determination of their self by a Christian state. This is where the problem is. You're applying U.S. domestic law to an international problem. You refuse to identify ourselves as the Hawaiians and the Hawaiian state, the Ko-Hawaii-Pai'aina, as an independent sovereign state whose people have already achieved self-determination. This is the law that we want to apply. You're applying the law that would apply to an indigenous people, a recognized tribe, a people that's within the United States. We are not those people. Our state is not that state.
But no, you're right, and the distinction is an important one, and so I appreciate you making it. And so I think the thing I'm trying to draw the distinction in is between what's right and what is. I agree.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're doing. You're not the first person that has raised this issue with me.
I agree with you that Hawaii had
The Hawaiian Islands.
Hawaii and the Hawaiian Islands. Sorry, I keep making that mistake, and I appreciate that you keep correcting me because I need to be corrected.
It's an important distinction. Without making that distinction, we're going to be spinning our wheels here all day long.
I agree that there was and I think everyone understands, even if a kid in 6th grade knows that it was a functioning, sovereign, independent
Christian kingdom
nation, right?
Christian is important here. Christian.
Well, but here's the thing.
Because our sovereignty doesn't come from the treaties. The treaty recognizes our sovereignty from God.
Okay. But here's the thing that I think the distinction is the United States as a federal government, they overthrow countries all the time.
Not this country. They have never overthrown our country. That is an assumption that is simply not founded upon any facts that I have found ever.
I'm right now in Arizona. Arizona was previously a part of Mexico, and it was previously a part of Spain, both of which are functioning sovereign governments.
And they were conquered. If you look at the Law of Nations, Vattel's Law of Nations, the final chapter, everybody relies on the prior chapter, the laws of war and the Lieber Code. But the final chapter is the law of peace and embassies. And we should all become familiar with that, because over here we don't have a war crime, as Keanu suggests. We have a crime against our peace.
Sure. I mean, my history is not as good as it should be. But my understanding is that the wealthy landowners essentially overthrew the government and pretended like they were a second government that then went to the United States and asked to be recognized as the sovereign government. And the United States said, yes, we think you are. And so it wasn't.
And I think that you should read the history of this properly, because you're being deceived by these deceptive use of words that has been a plague upon our minds for a long time.
Okay, and that is very possible.
There is a genocide going on here that people are not cognizant of. They're using words for this genocide, not weapons.
But the thing I don't understand is, I guess, from a right to travel standpoint, just going back to our topic, the person who has the power to exercise authority is in charge. The United States government has the ability to put you in jail. Just physically, they have the ability. Maybe they don't have the authority, but they have the ability.
And that's the distinction I was just about to make. They have the ability, and we don't question that ability. What we are questioning is that authority. And the way we question that authority is to govern ourselves.
Right. But
because if you look at, and let me make this point.
Okay.
From the high water mark out to our border, 3 miles out at sea, the United States today recognizes that as a special maritime jurisdiction of the United States, the same jurisdiction they apply on the high seas, right? And the reason for that is we do not have a government governing that maritime jurisdiction. They look at the land from the high water mark up as a special territorial jurisdiction of the United States. And they let the state of Hawaii operate in that territory and govern over there, right? From these areas. And the reason for that is the same as the maritime jurisdiction. The lawful government that has the lawful authority to enforce the lawful laws in those areas is not operating. And we need, as I think you're suggesting, we need law and order. And I would agree. We need law and order. And until we start offering our people the governance that protects their rights within that territory, from the 3 mile, the 1 Marine League out to sea, from the low water mark, and then on the islands themselves. Until we offer that, we have no power to address the control, right? The power that the United States has to impose on us conditions that are anomalous to the law of this land.
I think,
Governance. And this is why we're having this conversation, is for governance.
Thank you. I appreciate your perspective.
okay, could I jump in?
Sure.
I think I think that we have to remember that America claims that their joint resolution can acquire the territory of another sovereign nation. A joint resolution, as a mere act or bill of Congress, has no power to acquire the territory of another nation, another foreign, independent, and sovereign nation. As of 1898, Hawaii was a sovereign, independent, and sovereign nation and not territory of the United States. Under the international law of that time, a nation could acquire territory of another sovereign nation by means of conquest, treaty of cession, or by acquisitive prescription. The United States did not conquer Hawaii, nor has it ever made any claim that it acquired Hawaii by conquest. The doctrine of acquisitive prescription, akin to the doctrine of adverse possession in real property law, does not apply. The United States has never claimed acquisitive prescription. So I think that America is extending its power by a domestic law that can only
Everybody hear me
govern
okay?
North
Yeah, we
America.
got you.
And
Hey, will you,
It's really hard. I can't hear
Louis?
anybody, but
Come on, we can hear you. Louis, can you restate that last sentence, please?
the United States has never claimed acquisitive
stand by.
prescription. And we
I
have
Again,
have no
never
idea
had a
what's going on with
treaty.
my audio, but I really can't
again,
hear
I
you
would
guys.
just remind everyone that the governor is using the term Hawaii, and the United States has acquired Hawaii. Hawaii is an invention of the missionaries in
Right.
1887 under the Bayonet Constitution, right?
Mhm.
It starts out as Kingdom of Hawaii, and then it turns into the Provisional Government of Hawaii, and then the Republic of Hawaii, and then
Yeah,
the
my sound
Territory
is
of
all the way
Hawaii,
up.
and then today the
Something
State of
really
Hawaii.
funky.
Same guy, different first name. He just keeps changing his first name. Right? This is the same guy, and they did acquire that because they acquired it by the consent of
Yeah,
those
sorry guys,
criminals
my
that
sound is all the
invented
way
it.
up,
Right? But
but
they
I
have never
really cannot
acquired
hear
the
everybody. And
Kauai Aina.
I think I see Tom. I see Tom.
Kamano, I'll get you on a different feed here, bud, so you can join us. Kamano, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, bro, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
It was working great before. We can hear you now, so go ahead. Kamano, go ahead.
Now we loud and clear. Okay, so really quickly, I just want to let you guys know how much I really appreciate this, but I'm gonna have to excuse myself from the meeting, but I just wanted to share. I love the kuka that was happening earlier. I was trying to get in 10 times, and 10 times I couldn't get in. Something funky about the signal out here. Anyway, here's the evolution real quickly. 1893, provisional government. The provisional government creates the Republic of Hawaii in 1894. And then in 1897, the people launched the Palaho Pi'ikue, that's the anti-annexation petition in 1893. So Congress gets that petition. Remember, they did not make a treaty of annexation, and Tom is right. They did not create a treaty of annexation with the Kingdom of Hawaii. They made it with the Republic of Hawaii. There were only 13 people in the Republic. 13, they were Americans. Or
Committee of
they
Safety.
were also those who were working with Americans to conspire against the overthrow, to conspire to commit the treason and to overthrow the kingdom. Okay, so now from 1894 to 1898, you have this quasi republic form of government. So the Hawaii Republic, whatever. Then August 28 is the Spanish-American War. Because of the Spanish-American War, Congress holds a debate about the annexation of the republic and turning them into a territory. So all because the United States is trying to figure out how to constitutionally acquire the islands when they already had a treaty relationship with the Kingdom of Hawaii. They violated it by virtue of the Constitution. They violated a treaty relationship. So what do they have to do? They have to make reparations. That's the Constitution. So
That's
what
it.
100 years after the overthrow, they do a resolution. And by the way, the New York resolution is not law. It's just a resolution. You only have a resolution between the states and Congress, not a foreign country. The United States cannot write and pass as a law a resolution with Japan or the Philippines or Spain any more than they could with Africa. But they did in Hawaii's case because they did not draft the resolutions with the subjects of the Kingdom of Hawaii. Instead, they did it with the citizens of the Republic of Hawaii. And that's why we're in the conundrum that we're in. So that's why it was important for us to affirm that we are going to uphold the laws of Hawaii Paina. We are going to live, walk, breathe, talk, kind of like Hawaii Paina.
And hold court and self-determine.
Now, having said that, that I think was a great accomplishment for all of us, that we are going to hold ourselves to this. And while I love the back and forth, I am a very, very concise, terse kind of an individual. When I feel enough intelligence has contributed to the path where we need to go, that's good enough for me. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, let's go. Because we obviously have a lot of intelligent people in this canoe, and it's time for all that intelligence to find order in the chaos. Pick a horizon, and let's start following a star. One star.
Hokulea.
So until we meet again, everybody, I gotta go. Sorry. Aloha.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Well, should we adjourn?
Yeah, I think we should. I'd like to further my conversation with Kobe at some other time. I want to. There's a great deal of confusion here, and even at the risk of being contentious and argumentative. Again, the use of words is confounding even Kamano's understanding of the law. It's there's a lot of confusion because of the deceptive use of words, and we're looking at histories that have been rendered by the criminals themselves, and we're not challenging any of those histories. There's no question that the United States acquired Hawaii. They can have it. The question is, what is Hawaii? We just assume we know what that is, and we allow this operation of this force against us. And we need to settle that. And we need a legal mind like Kobe's in order to, resolve a lot of these issues. To look at these things that has been trained. What we've got is carpenters and bricklayers and cooks and all of these people rendering these conclusions and extrapolations on non-existent evidence, just reacting to argument. It's not useful. I'm certainly not interested in arguing the conditions of our country. I want to put them in play and then look at what 1893 and 1887 and 1864 and 1959 and 1894 and 1900, all of these things. We need to look at it, but we need to find some form. We're looking at it from a void. It's just not useful for me. This is why I'm excited about what Michael's bringing to this technology. It gives us some place to stand and look out at our problem and identify it properly. And that's what I'm saying. I'm sorry. I have a tendency to get overexcited about this stuff. I live in the Kauai Island. I don't know any other country here. I refuse to recognize the state of Hawaii, except that in situations where it's become necessary. I have to buy gas from them and pay them these taxes because I have no choice if I intend to drive a car.
Tom, let's go ahead and convene today's meeting. And
very good.
The topic that you're discussing, let's have it as an agenda item and dig into it, but research it prior so we can actually have some clarity on it. And it's looked at it a logical way, maybe a legal way, and a lawful way, and we can take the emotion. The emotion is beautiful, but we need to look at it from a standpoint of a pragmatic perspective internally and make sure that we're going about it in the right, most calculated way from my perspective. And we've already gone through a lot of these. I think there's so much more to dig into, but let's convene again when we can get some stable connections from other folks that really need to be, involved. And I think we've accomplished what we needed to from a naming, and it's just wonderful to be able to meet all the new individuals and know your history and all the work that you've done. And I would just say, well done on helping the driver's licenses, the identities, the histories, all of it come together. And even, Mark, for going out to the different environments, whether it's Bumpy or Komanu or Kiana or, the Kingdom of Akui or the Kingdom of Atui or the Kingdom of Bakawa or the Kingdom of Hawaii, these different ecosystems that are all really wonderful people, and how we can actually all work together and bring things to at least a point where unity and understanding, especially internally and then externally, can be realized. So, Mark, could we have a closing prayer from you and then adjourn today, and we'll lock in a new appointment probably in 2 weeks from today?
May I just make one comment, though?
Charles, yeah.
Yeah. So from the legal side of things, and there's so many different perspectives and so many different topics that can be discussed. If it's going to take 3 hours to get through one, I'll be dead before this is done. I'm 68 years old. Okay, so you got to get concise. You got to get emotion out of the way and just get to the simple facts and get to quickly and easily. Get through it with it's kind of like what I do in my. I'm on the board with our local community clinic in Wailuku, and we have separate committees for different reasons that bring it to the main committee. And you can do things in all kinds of different ways, but my goodness, to spend 3 hours, we started at 5 o'clock, supposedly. We didn't start actually until 6. It's now 8 o'clock, and we only have one item that we touched. We touched on the second one, but that's about it. And if it's going to take 1 hour for each and every action or more, like I said, I'll be dead before this is done.
Yeah, that's why we're supposed to have 10 for each one.
I'm trying to say this with humility, but we got to organize it so that it's clean and it's done. So that I appreciate the passion that Tom has, especially with the accent too, the Fijian accent. I love it. But we got to get it clear and clean and in and out the door as quickly as possible.
Maybe what we do is we don't just verbally relate it, but we put it in a context, maybe a slide that one point can come across. And if it's something that we're reviewing, we actually dig into it, but we have some construct and structure to it. So I absolutely agree with what you're saying. It's actually over midnight for us here. So
yeah.
Right. But in the end, these dialogues have to be understood and heard, even if it's.
No, the dialogues is necessary. Absolutely. And Tom's very correct about words have meanings, and they're very correct about that too. But again, if it's going to take 2 hours just to get through to 1.25 points,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be dead.
You know, just to give you an idea, you say you're going to be dead. Yeah, absolutely. I've been trying to push this argument of mine for over 30 years.
I understand,
And
but my
you know,
point is
and
just
it's,
that we got to get through a lot of things. So try
yeah.
to keep it more concise and stuff like that. But you're absolutely correct, Tom, that the meaning of words is absolutely correct. And that's a wonderful thing. So
Can we?
all the things, everything. There's a 10 million different subjects that we can spend time on, and that's the problem. There's so many bits and pieces.
Let's set an agenda for next week or 2 weeks from now and focus on those that you feel are important, and then try and keep disciplined in how we come in and then how we stay on topic and then move on. So let's go ahead and adjourn. Mark, if you could offer us an invocation as we wrap up, that would be wonderful.
O ke akua, o ko aloha no, aya ikalani. A o ko o ia io, he hemolele ho'i. O oi ku'ulama ko nani ko uko'o. Mai nana ino na heba o kanaka. Aka e hui kala. A mai no. No laila e kahaku. Malalo o ko e heu. Ko mako malu hia. Amao aku no. Amama ua noa.